Rumor has it Ricardo Pepi is on the move. The Women's World Cup is going to Netflix. And who remembers when Nelson Rodriguez shook the soccer world? That and more here on Friday's Morning Kick Around. Hello and welcome to the show. This is Morning Kick Around, where we cover the world's favorite game from everyone's most favorite country. Coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm Robert Kerr, happy to be joined by the host, featured in such programs as When Alda Talks Football and The Best Soccer Show. It's Mr. Jason Davis. Good morning.
Yeah, some people would say I have too many things going on, but I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. I'll sleep when I'm dead, Robert. That's what I say. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Let's go.
As well as 90s and 2000s hip-hop, I think we have that in common where we have a lot of projects, a lot of stakes in the pan, as they say. Yeah. But it is officially 2 months for us and this show being on the internet together. We are at 450, trying to hit that 500 subscriber mark before 2025 hits our calendar. So be sure to smash or just click the subscribe button at Morning Kick Around on YouTube. Follow us on social media at MKickAround on X, Insta, and the Blue Sky. All right. Should we get right into it? There's a lot of news today, Jason.
Yes, let's not waste any time. Let's go. Let's get into it.
Take a swing. Here's Friday's long ball. Big day for MLS news. Yesterday was schedule release day. So in amongst of a bunch of announcements, MLS released their schedule. All the creative artists in the on the computers in MLS club offices were having a field day yesterday. Which one was your favorite out of all those? The schedule releases.
The schedule releases? Which was my favorite schedule release? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, there was every single team had some sort of a video or some sort of a attempt at creativity with their schedules.
I did not partake of said videos. I guess I'm not online enough, Robert. I wasn't scrolling the way I'm supposed to.
We live on the internet. What are you talking about? Not online.
I'm posting things constantly, but, I try not to live entirely on the internet. I'll have to go back and watch. You tell me, which one was the best one, since you posed me a question I don't have an answer to.
There was a lot of, using clips from old movies that teams were, using San Diego, that famous clip from Anchorman for whoever's trip to San Diego. A lot of memeing going on, but I've derailed us with our specific team schedule releases. So what are some notable dates of the 2025 MLS schedule?
I just realized that was going to play the music, but why not? Because I enjoy this. Since you've encouraged me to go and look, I see that Seattle has a lo-fi study beats video. I don't know if this is as ubiquitous as I feel like it is.
The lo-fi stuff?
Yeah, lo-fi stuff on
YouTube.
Yeah,
that's my what is it? The Spotify Wrapped completely changed because my 10-year-old is all about lo-fi.
Oh, you can kind of maybe hear it. Is it coming through?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay. So but specifically on YouTube, there's a lo-fi beats channel to study by or study to, and it's this girl writing in a journal with a cat on a window. She's got a coffee. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
Like I said, my 10-year-old's way into that stuff.
So Seattle, this is the only one I've watched so far, but I'm gonna say it's already the winner because it's the girl's wearing a Seattle colors, Seattle headphones, Sounders headphones, and then it's going through the various dates and the various games that are coming for the Seattle Sounders, with the overlay on the text. So I like that one. I'll just say that's my favorite one so far.
There was another one where there was a play on doing an Apple AirDrop, and they were airdrop the schedule to your friends, and it was kind of a chain of events, almost like playing telephone,
awesome.
But it was airdropping.
Okay, nice. I like that too. All right, creativity from all the social and content teams over at MLS. Good job, guys. You get a thumbs up from Jason.
So we talked about it on Wednesday's show a little bit. There was a rumor that Columbus versus Inter Miami in the springtime would be at the Cleveland Browns NFL Stadium. Try to maximize the Haslam's trying to maximize those ticket sales. That's one of the notable games. Were any of the other? Was there any other ones that kind of raised your eyebrows or tickled your
Well,
fancy?
yeah, like I was. Let's just stop to comment on the crime that the Haslams intend to commit in 2025 by taking a home game away from Columbus Crew fans and moving it 150 miles away to Cleveland, Ohio. I have nothing against Cleveland. I've actually never been there. Have you been to Cleveland, Robbie? You're a Midwesterner. I'm assuming you've been to Cleveland. No?
I've never been to Cleveland, and until I became friends with someone from Ohio, I'd never been to Columbus before. Ever.
Okay. Okay. I have not been to Cleveland, nor have I been to Cincinnati, surprisingly. I have been to Columbus multiple times for various soccer events.
Same now, yeah.
I would say, again, like I get it. This is an opportunity to grow the brand or make new fans up there in Cleveland on the lake. It's an opportunity. I mean, you're certainly talking about trying to grab a bunch of cash. If Lionel Messi comes to town with Inter Miami, you could sell more tickets than the 20,000 that fit into Lower.com Field. So why not take it to 67,000 capacity Huntington What is it? I don't even remember what the Brown Stadium is called anymore. It's not.
Did you see Jameis Winston? Lord, deliver me from pick sixes. MLS, please deliver us from cash grabs.
There you go. That's good. Whatever the Brown Stadium is called, taking the game there is atrocious in my mind. Because, again, you could throw everything under the banner of, like, we're just trying to make new fans. We're just trying to grow the game and excuse all of this stuff. Huntington Bank Field. It's a terrible name. I don't. If you have your accounts with Huntington Bank, my apologies. That's a terrible name for a football stadium, but it's also a terrible idea. Home games are precious. There are only so many of them in a given season. People spend gobs of money on season tickets so that they can go watch their team play. Now, maybe they don't make every game, but they intend to do as many as possible. And you're saying, nope, you don't get that game. That game's going to move to Cleveland. And if you do want to go, I'm assuming they'll be honoring those tickets. You're going to have to drive 150 miles to go watch that game. Oh, and by the way, we're also going to sell suites so you can get a peek of Lionel Messi. And I'm sure that Haslam's will clean up on that front. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all, Rob.
No, it's also it's a little bit of an undermining sort of a thing. Like, are we really supposed to take it seriously when we're just gonna kind of almost make an exhibition out of a regular season game in a way?
Exactly. Right. And look, there's just so much. We have done so much work. How about this as a reason? We have done so much work. And when I say we, I mean the collective we. All of American soccer. All of us have done so much goddamn work to get soccer stadiums built in this country, Rob. Do you know how many city council meetings I have watched thousands of miles away from my particular area because I cared about whether a stadium deal was going to go through and get approved? Yes.
I've read a lot of real estate news since digging into American soccer over the last 10 years, for sure.
Yes, look, I'm a sicko. I'm a nerd. I'm very in it in a way a lot most people aren't. But come on. We have done so much work to get stadiums built in this country, and then we're going to say, well, just because Lionel Messi's coming to town, we're going to take a game out of the purpose-built, beautiful soccer stadium that came through so much effort for the Crew. I know the Haslams built, they built it by buying the Crew off of Anthony Precourt and keeping them in Columbus, but remember what we went through with Save the Crew. I mean, it's a very. I saw this on Blue Sky somewhere. Somebody said, "We saved the Crew for this. This is what we saved the Crew for, Rob. What are we doing?" All right.
I don't know. I'd say the pros have outweighed the cons for the Crew salvation. I mean, it's been pretty. Sure. The last few years have been pretty good for Columbus football wise.
It's just a cold slap in the face to be reminded that all of that feel good stuff that came out of Save the Crew can be undermined in a second by owners who are just trying to get as much money as possible. And do the Haslams need this money? Do they need the extra money that they would make off a game in Cleveland? No. But of course, you got an opportunity here. Business leads instead of the soccer, instead of the doing the right thing by the fans of Columbus. You got to get as much money as possible.
Maybe buried the lead on this MLS schedule release stuff, that this is actually that they released the schedules of MLS's 30th season, 2025, the 30th season for MLS. soccer action, which is who would have thunk it, 25 years ago that it would still be here. And
There is some like anniversary stuff built into the schedule. I was reading Charlie Boehm's piece at MLSsoccer.com that
I'm
has
looking at that now too.
10 must-watch games. Inter Miami and Real Salt Lake opens the stadium on February 21st at Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. You've got what?
It's
Some
called
very
Chase
interesting.
Stadium now, isn't it? Or is it? Didn't they
Yeah.
change it?
You're right. MLS Soccer.com got it wrong. I don't know if that's Charlie's fault or if that's some editor over at the website. But yeah, you're right. It is called Chase
I
Stadium.
don't know.
now.
Maybe it's getting real competitive. To Drive Pink is just upping the ante of their bid. Maybe it flipped and reversed
I think
it.
you're right. I think you're right. This is a mistake. We
Oh,
found
boy.
an error. But then you get some rivalry matchups in there that are obviously always interesting. I think there's some big items here in terms of the schedule, Rob. And one of the things that we all noted, and this has been coming because of the news, no Leagues Cup pause in 2025. They're going to do Leagues Cup as midweek matches. Of course, we learned from Mikel Ariola of Liga MX that this was going to happen, but now it's confirmed here. There is a Club World Cup / Gold Cup break. I think it's 2 weeks. That's not obviously going to cover either of those full tournaments, but it is a break. I think it's more of a Gold Cup break than it is a Club World Cup break. And there are 2 MLS teams participating in the Club World Cup. Quick, Rob, which 2 teams are participating in the Club World Cup for Major League Soccer? Go.
Oh, Inter Miami, and the other one is kind of random.
No,
Seattle Sounders.
It's not random. Seattle Sounders. Of course it's the Seattle Sounders because
But
they
they didn't-
won the CONCACAF Champions League, the first MLS team to do it in the modern era. So, of course, they should be there. Anyway, yes, those are some things that are on the schedule. It's an early start, February 20, whatever. It's going to be cold in some places. Of course, it's a long season, and now we know what the schedule looks like.
Another match day that Charlie Boehm circled on the calendar is the opening day for the 30th soccer franchise in the 30th year, San Diego FC at Snapdragon Week 2.
San Diego FC. Boring name. Hopefully they come up with some sort of nickname and give us something interesting to call them rather than San Diego FC. But yeah, that's obviously a big moment. Anytime an expansion team launches, we make a note of it.
All right, looking across the land, across the sea rather, long ball number 2, Yanks abroad, and we'll lead it off with Ricardo Pepi, rumored to be having some offers on the table for him there.
Yeah, well, my cynical brain is already going, wait a second, what's really going on here? Now, it's not that I don't think Ricardo Pepi is of interest to clubs outside of Holland, right? I certainly think that clubs look at him and think, oh, there's a talent, and if we can get him at a good price, he might be worth an investment. The report is $20.7 million, which, Rob, I don't know if you have the exchange rate in your head at all times, but I imagine that's something like 15 million pounds, something like that. It's not a small amount of money, right? It's significant. It's not a crazy amount of money. Is it enough to get PSV Eindhoven to say yes? And if it is a Premier League club, as has been reported, is that the right destination for Ricardo Pepi? He is backing up a first-choice striker at PSV Eindhoven. Would he play much more if he went to a Premier League club, Rob? That's my problem with this.
I mean, that's an argument that, hard to make that he would usurp anyone. So kind of break down the 20 teams in the Premier League. So the report is that he's got an offer from a Premier League team is what you're saying?
That is correct. A
Okay,
Premier
so
League team.
So
reportedly.
what teams in the Premier League need a forward that he might seem an above replacement or potentially an above replacement? So obviously, I'm not sure. Liverpool doesn't really need any offensive
Liverpool
players.
has been connected to him. How much of that is smoke being blown by agents is unclear. But there is at least, let's note that before we move down the list.
Uh, but at the same time, Chiesa's starting to come back to fitness, and so there's already.
They don't play the same position. That's come on. I
But
mean, it's
there's
just
a lot
another
of forwards. My
option.
point is, there's a lot
That's
of
true.
forwards there.
That's true. Well, okay, but who are the? It's Diego Jota and it's Darwin Nunez, right? That's pretty much the 9 situation at Liverpool. Am I wrong?
No, you're spot on there. Chelsea, no.
No,
Arsenal,
could be, but I don't think that's a step. I don't think they're going to be like, oh, let's go. I don't know. Not Arsenal. Probably not Arsenal.
Nottingham
Probably not.
Forest. Does Nottingham Forest need to know their goal scorer?
They have the golden boot leader right now. Why would they need a goal scorer? Chris Wood is tearing it up right now. Okay.
Does Manchester City need to call in the Ricardo Pepi reinforcements for Holland?
I'm gonna say no. I mean, I don't. They have a drop off at that position. Who's the backup to Erling Haaland? Why am I blanking? Who do
Ooh.
they usually play a false 9 if they don't play Haaland, right? Or they're playing somebody who's more of a wing player in that position. If they do that, I don't know. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. Continue.
We're getting bogged down. So moving down the table, Bournemouth. Do they need a forward? They've been pretty good in the goal scoring. They've already scored 24, which is in the upper third of goal
Yeah, I
scoring.
mean, look, we could go down every single club, right? I think I think if you're looking at this hard, you're talking about teams at the bottom of the table. You're talking about Everton.
Okay,
You're talking about
I'll narrow
Wolves.
it down. So would Fulham need somebody? Yeah or nay?
Not as long as Raul Jimenez stays healthy. Muniz scored on the weekend. I don't think so.
This is actually kind of interesting because they pull some players from lesser known places and turn them into stars. Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is reports out there that João Pedro could be on the move at some point. So you imagine you might need a replacement for João Pedro. Could be a Ricardo Pepi opportunity. I mean, that's a big step. That's a club with okay, that's a club that's punching above its weight, whether they're ambitious or not. So we'll see. That could be. I guess that's a possibility.
Newcastle. The Isak is rumored. The vultures are circling around him at Newcastle, so they could potentially need some more firepower at Newcastle. But I feel like if they're making a move, they might get a little splashier than that.
I mean, they could sell Isak for what, 70, 80 million, and yeah, they'd have
Isak,
some
come
money
on.
to throw around, and maybe they could see Pepe as an Isak replacement. I mean, they're not entirely dissimilar as players, which I think is notable. All right, I
And
mean,
then a couple more teams that might need a forward, but it would not, in my mind, wouldn't be a positive move. West Ham, Everton, Leicester, Wolves.
those are not positive moves because those are teams in danger of relegation, right? That's what we're
Yeah.
yes. But at the same time, and okay, this is the
Pepe going
problem.
to Everton would be cool, but it's a tough place to go.
I think Everton's going to be fine in the end, just because there are 3 teams that are clearly worse than everybody else. Right. Okay, there are 2 teams that are clearly worse than everybody else in Wolves and Southampton. Wolves has made their managerial change. Is Vitor Pereira going to keep them up? I have my doubts. Right. Okay, and Ipswich has shown some fight, but I don't know if they have the squad. So I think Everton in the end is going to be fine. It's just whether or not that's the right place to go for a young American forward in need of minutes.
Deshaun Dyche, is he the guy that's going to mold Ricardo Pepi into the forward we want him to be?
I'm going to say probably not. And they don't score a bunch of goals, and service would be a problem. I mean,
Would that be like Augsburg on steroids?
a little bit, a little bit higher level than Augsburg, bigger platform than Augsburg, better quality around him than Augsburg, but relative to the league, not the quality that you want to be playing with. I mean, the problem is there's no perfect solution, right? Ricardo Pepi is not so obviously a hot commodity that he's going to go from PSV Eindhoven to a club that is completely safe and maybe challenging for Europe, and he's going to play a ton. That doesn't exist as an opportunity for Ricardo Pepi. So everything comes with risk. I think he's ready to play more, and that's what I care about. I also don't want him to go down in terms of quality, right? So we don't want him to go to a lesser Eredivisie club. We don't want him to end up in Austria or Belgium. Although those aren't terrible leagues, he needs to be playing at a higher level. And I hope that is, if it is a Premier League club, I don't know, maybe, would it be the end of the world if he went to West Ham? Would it be the end of the world if he went to West Ham?
It's not the end of the world, but again, he would definitely have to develop a harder shell, you think, and because there's not a lot of success, but there's a lot of criticism with that club. So we shall see,
It's a
and then
good
we'll
point.
see if just this reporting is smoke and mirrors or if it's the real deal. Is it's the negotiation? The agent shoots up here, and where do they
Well,
land?
the reports out of Holland suggest that the offer is 20.7, which I guess would probably round out to an exact number in euros because you never report like they're not saying it's a $20.7 million offer in Holland. They're probably saying it's a $20 million, 20 million euro offer, right? And the reports are that they're holding out for a much bigger fee, like not just a little bit, not just like 22 million, but something maybe 50% higher or more, which says something about how Eindhoven rates him, I think, but is definitely a barrier for him leaving and going to a better league.
Moving on, touching on this just real quick as far as Yanks abroad. Christian Pulisic ranked 95th on the Guardian's top 100 players list.
Terrible
And
list.
yeah, there's a Real
Terrible
Madrid
list.
backup goalkeeper at or above him in the rankings.
82, I believe, Andre Lunin is listed on the Guardians' top 100 players in the world.
Yeah, some questionable players on here like Lamine Yamal
He
in the top 10.
in the top. Oh, look, okay, Lamine Yamal's an incredible player, and we all love Lamine Yamal. How can you not? He's so precocious. He wears braces. You have to like the guy. I mean, I don't think you're allowed to hate on teenagers who wear braces and play for one of the biggest clubs in the world. It's not that I'm mad Lamine Yamal is there. It's not even that I'm mad that he's in the top 10. It's just I think this is a very messy list that they have 197 panelists for this, voters for this list. Most of them are media. There's a handful that are coaches and players. I don't know. Just to give you a taste. So again, Christian Pulisic is number 95 in the world. And I don't know how much of this is like their quality independent of their form, which I think is impossible. Like, how can you separate those things? Your production matters directly to how you're rated in the world, right? So if Christian Pulisic is 95, where's Rafael Leao? I mean, if Christian Pulisic is number 95, how would you rate Leao if you were doing this list, Robert?
His reputation is certainly bigger than Christian Pulisic's, and I mean maybe like slightly ahead of him. I'm not sure if that's reflected on this list though. I like Nate's note. Surprised the Guardian has any non-English players on the list. Good point. But where is Leao? I'm guessing he's like 10 to 20 ahead.
I will give the Guardian a little bit of credit in the fact that their panel is not just English writers and journalists. There's lots of, in fact, there's American representation here. Felipe Cardenas is involved in this, and I've seen a, I can't name every journalist, but there's lots that have been involved that you go, oh, okay. Rafael Leao is number 61 on this Guardian list, so that means he is 34 places higher than Christian Pulisic, a player who has outplayed him significantly over the last year, at least, right? And this is supposed
is
to
this
be,
another case of American bias?
You said those words, not me. When we put out our video on anti-American bias, it is a virus. It's a virus.
A bias
Anti-American bias in Europe, people are like, no, it's a meritocracy. Nobody ever cares about where you're from. That's nonsense. Again, that's nonsense. Obviously, that's a team environment. This is a rating from journos and a couple of coaches and players, so maybe it's not the same. But I can't. Some of this is just like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't. Mo Salah is number 11. He is behind Florian Wirtz. He's behind Denny Carvajal. He's behind Lamine Yamal, who's at number 4. Lautaro Martinez is a very good player and has helped Inter Milan win Scudettos.
And you scoffed when I said Salah was underrated.
Is he number 7? Is Lautaro Martinez number 7 in the world? The 7th best player in the world is Lautaro Martinez? I just don't. Nico Williams, who I love as a player, number 14? Nico Williams is number 14? I don't. Phil Foden has had a complete and utter drop-off in this season that we're now 16 games into or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's number 15 in the world. And now, look, again, I know he was Premier League Player of the Year last year. But to put him
he fell off.
15 is crazy.
He's got to be like nursing an injury or something, right? I mean, when players, you don't just flip the switch.
Tony Cruz, maybe I'm okay with. Tony Cruz is a retired player who's number 16 in the world. All right, here's a good one. Ademola Lookman. Where should Ademola Lookman be, Rob?
Okay, so I would put him in like the 75-ish area.
Ademola
Like
Lookman's
he's
number.
like he's a rising star, so I wouldn't put him in like the top
Oh,
25
I
or
believe
anything.
Ademola Lookman is 27 years old, so he ain't rising anymore. He's
Oh,
done rised.
wow,
Okay.
he's been the young starlet for 10 years, eh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it took him a while to get to where he is in the club that he's in, so that he could do the things he's doing with Atalanta. And look, I like watching him play. He's a very good player. He was good in the Champions League. 22 in the world, Ademola Lookman. 22.
That's that's not spot on in my guesstimation. I was thinking in like I thought you were gonna say in the 30 to 60 number, but wow,
Nope. Let's see. Ollie Watkins is 54, which seems a little
that's
high
English
to me.
bias. That's English bias.
It seems crazy high to me.
I mean, okay, so
Yeah.
Ollie Watkins, where would you even rate him within his own league as far as like the best striker, right?
Yeah, he's probably
He's
five,
like
7. Holland, Isak. Where am I going with? I mean,
Mateta.
I don't think Nicholas Jackson is on this list. Maybe I don't remember seeing his name.
Mateta, Wisa,
Mateta's better than Ollie Watkins. I don't know about that, but still, it's a question at least, right? How about this? The top CONCACAF rated player in the world. Who do you think that is?
it's not still like oh, who would it be? Top CONCACAF, and it's not Pulisic. There's someone higher than him.
Well, it's not Pulisic. I'm actually going to
So
need to.
was it
Hold on.
Ricard? Is it a American player?
Well, you would imagine that Alphonso Davies should be on here somewhere, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Alphonso Davies.
Alphonso Davies did not make the list, as far as I can tell.
Wow.
Did not make the
So,
list.
Is it a Central American player?
You can hear me typing, trying to search for this because my computer's looking for names.
Oh, I thought you had it in hand. Okay. Who is the highest?
No, it's a
CONCACAF
100-player
rated-
list. I have it in front of me, but it's a 100-player list. I'm not scrolling looking for names. That'd be crazy. Christian Pulisic 95. Jonathan David at number 73
Wow.
in the world.
Yeah, that's we should have started with that. Jonathan David rated higher than Christian Pulisic. Well, that's an eyebrow raiser. Certainly, I wouldn't have thought that. Is that the highest rated CONCACAF player, Jonathan David?
It is. It
Higher
is.
than
I believe
Alphonso
it is.
Davis.
Alphonso Davies didn't make the list. This is what I'm trying to tell you. You're not listening to me. You can hear me. Look. See, that's the sound of no Alphonso Davies. It's very subtle. It's not okay. It's not there. He's just not there. Which I'm actually surprised. I'm very surprised by that. Now I realize when I looked at this list multiple times the last couple days, and they've been dropping certain sections. They finally dropped the top 10 just yesterday.
Hey, to stir the pot, where's the highest rated Mexican player on there?
There is not a Mexican player
Oh,
on this
what
list.
what a strange fact.
That's interesting. That is interesting. Canadian and American representation and no Mexicans. Wow.
How the
Wow.
world turns, Jason. And then just real quick, we've gone a little long on this. Looking at the weekend matchups for our Americans abroad. Last weekend for Gio Reyna to impress before January. Will he get in the lineup this final match day?
2 starts in a row. Champions League, Bundesliga. Scores that goal in the Bundesliga. Obviously, we would like Dortmund to have won that game because then we could say game winner for Gio Reyna. Great goal. I have no I don't think there's a good reason for him to be dropped against Wolfsburg on Sunday. If he's fit and he's played that well, and he has gotten pulled, I think 75 minutes in both games. Like he's been substituted out. But until Julian Brandt is 100%, and I don't know what that update is, then play Gio Reyna. Come on, Nuri Sahin. Play Gio Reyna. Give us some extra hope this holiday season. Give us another gift. Gio Reyna in the lineup. I had my doubts whether he would get significant time. I still wonder when Brandt comes back what happens. I'm not 100% sold that he doesn't need to go on loan in January. But this is the final match day of the Bundesliga season before the winter break that they do every year. And I don't think they play again until mid-January. So let's go. Let's see Gio Reyna play, please.
Yeah, they don't have a second domestic cup competition to muddle up their winter break. Other notable Americans in action. Will we see Tyler Adams? Bournemouth takes on Manchester United. Tyler got a couple of recent looks in the last week or a couple weeks. We'll see if he takes on Manchester United. And then on the continent, Juve with, of course, Timothy Weah and Weston McKennie are away to Monza. Any notes on that, or move right along?
No, I mean, look, I don't think it's 100% clear. Both of them have played. Obviously they had the great goal in the Champions League against City. They're part of the rotation for Thiago Motta, but it's not clear that they're starters. I believe Tim Weah might have picked up an injury, so that's disappointing. But hopefully Weston McKennie is on the good side of Thiago Motta at the moment. In terms of Tyler Adams, I think that's clearly Iraola managing his minutes on his full return. And I can't, as much as I would love to see him play, I also have to recognize that they know where he is physically. And if it's better for him to sit, it's better for him to sit. Hopefully he dresses at least against United. Who knows? If United plays like they did in the League Cup yesterday, then it could be fun for Bournemouth in that match.
Long ball number 3, our third headline here on Friday. Soccer in the news. FIFA and Netflix just, I think this morning, announced a deal for the next 2 Women's World Cups to be streaming on Netflix.
Yeah, this just happened as we were coming on the air this morning. Netflix and FIFA doing a deal for the 2027 and 31 World Cups. I've seen a mix of response already. Some people going, this will get these tournaments in front of way more eyeballs than they were before. I think if you are over a certain age, it seems odd to put anything on a streaming platform with a paywall, right? This is what we're dealing with Major League Soccer and Apple TV and MLS Season Pass. At the same time, they've committed to doing some shoulder programming, documentaries, coverage of women's soccer outside of the games, and that is such a big thing that as much as I hate FIFA, like Johnny Infantino is my least favorite person in the world. I hope Santa gives him a lump of coal in his stocking this Christmas. This sounds like it might be good. It sounds like it might be. We cannot deny that this is the way things are going in terms of sports. It's streaming platforms and linear television. Maybe there'll be a simulcast opportunity here. Maybe Netflix will sub-license to somebody like Fox, but come on. This is – and Netflix is – in terms of what even though Netflix is not a sports platform, what was their first ever live sporting event was the Tyson Paul fight, which
I don't think that was their first, but their first they've been doing a handful of fights and like unique sort of like one-off events. And to be fair, the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, not the best quality stream, to be honest.
No, they had lots of streaming problems. They have to get that fixed. That is a big issue. Absolutely.
And Jenny, producer Jenny, also notes that they've had a couple NFL games on Netflix.
Oh, I know they have a Christmas Day NFL thing. I didn't realize they were doing. Didn't know they had done it already. My apologies to Netflix. I'm sorry I've offended you and your sports broadcasting capabilities. Again,
and we don't worry, we have to compete with DAZN and the Unify app now too.
Yeah, this is a mixed bag, right? It makes it feels on the surface to make the tournaments less accessible. At the same time, if there's investment in the game and an actual desire on Netflix part to put their money where their mouth is and present the game at a high quality level, okay. Let's see what happens. I don't want to dismiss this as a potential positive for women's soccer.
Yeah, next 2 Women's World Cups on Netflix, 2027 in Brazil, and I don't think 31 is announced just yet.
It is not. It is not.
A couple other little bullet points for soccer in the news. We learned something new this week. Timothy Chalamet, apparently really good friends with Alex Mule. Who knew?
Did not know that, and now I do.
Shocking. And then funny social media. Christian Pulisic didn't make himself didn't give himself any cool points with his red carpet
I think
awkwardness.
You're being overly harsh here, Robert. Like I've watched this video. You were like, "Hey, did you see Christian Pulisic on the red carpet for the Milan holiday party?" And it's like I didn't actually watch the video. I know he was there. There's a moment where they're not sure What's his girlfriend's name? Oh, she's a human being. I don't know her name.
The golfer.
She's a golfer. Okay, she's got a name. Alex something, I think is her name. She has to figure out what side of Christian to be on when they're in front of the step and repeat for the picture. Okay, that happens to all of us, Robert. Why are you trying to make our American hero seem less cool by saying he was awkward on the red carpet? Not
I think
everybody's
that
made
at
for
some
that.
at some point you gotta like become comfortable in your skin, right? And it is probably harsh. I mean, how old is he? Mid-20s, and I wasn't as cool as I am, until later on in my life. So I guess I'll cut him a break. But I think you'd like develop into a smooth public persona at some point. But maybe harsh on our Captain America.
I'd like to see you on the red carpet, Robert. I'm
Oh,
sure you're just like,
oh, 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 oh. Excuse me. Oh, oh, oh. Let me
I don't
hold
know
your
what-
purse. Oh.
is
Oh.
you saying "ope" all the time?
Oh.
Is that just the Midwesterner in you coming
Yeah,
out?
yeah.
while
If you're trying to walk around somebody, or you're like, oh, pardon me there. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to get on this side of you. Oh, can I hold your
Oh.
purse? All right, all right. With that said, hit like and subscribe. Morning Kick Around. Be our 500 subscriber, and if so, we'll give you a huge thumbs up, and we'll be forever grateful. Follow along on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. We'll catch our breath, recover from our Midwestern suaveness, and come right back with today's big question. In amongst the MLS releases, schedule, and various other news and notes yesterday, MLS announced that general allocation money is now public information. So
Yeah.
the big question, does this open MLS up to more water cooler talk?
Yeah, I think that's some of the logic here, some of the thinking that Major League Soccer has always been way too opaque, way too closed off with this stuff. We were talking about this before the show. What's interesting for me is that this step, right? Major League Soccer probably will always be a salary cap league. I don't think that's something that you start with and then one day go, we're tossing that all out, right? The league has always been very conscious of its salaries and its labor cost, because that's the way you get yourself in trouble. If you allow for rampant overspending, you go NASL, and nobody wants that, right? So they've been very careful with this, and I don't think that you're just going to like take the training wheels off completely. I think there will always be some guidelines, and you could argue. Look at the football league in England. You could argue that lots of competitions are going to be moving in this direction anyway. Like, this is just the world that we're in. Things are getting too crazy for spending, and they got to rein some of this in. PSR is not exactly this, but it's got elements of holding clubs back on spending and things like that. Barcelona, for example. So if MLS is always going to have salary caps, then this kind of has to come with it, because what we're used to in American sports, because we've always done salary caps, or they've always been part of our conversation for the last 40 years. NFL, NBA, fans become armchair GMs, right? This is what we do.
Yeah.
Like, Bill Simmons made basically an entire career out of being an armchair NBA GM.
Yeah.
Partly, right? Like, oh, I did the trade machine and I got this player and that player, because you got to make the contracts match, right? That's somehow that's. I know this is hard to explain to non-sports fans, but that's fun for us. What's fun for us is trying to make.
I mean, there's a reason why
match up.
fantasy football is a thing. Trying to piece
Exactly.
together
Exactly.
pieces of different values.
Right. I've got a certain amount of money, and I've got it just like a real GM. I've got a cap, and I've got to make these players fit. And we do it now. The Premier League has their own game. It's the same thing. You got 100 million pounds, and you got to go out and buy the players, and everybody's rated. Major League Soccer. So this is part of our experience as sports fans. It's not really, unless you play fantasy, and then it feels different. It's not part of the experience of a European soccer fan. This doesn't exist. You don't know. You might hear that somebody's on a certain number of pounds a week, or you know that there's a limited number of squad spots in the Premier League. So you can only register, 25 players for the Premier League. You can use players in other competitions, but you can only register 25. You might know these things, but there's no they can only spend so much money, and we got to make all these players fit. oh, we need a fullback. Well, who's a fullback that makes a certain amount or costs a certain amount to fit into our budget? That's not really happening in European soccer circles, but it is part of the American sports experience. And publicizing the GAM numbers gives MLS fans who are inclined to that American mentality of playing armchair GM more information to work with. And it's great for the content mill as all the bloggers and podcasters and YouTube people get to now dig in and go, okay, well, look, Atlanta's got $6.5 million in GAM, and they really need help at striker or at fullback or at central midfielder, and they can do this, that, and the other thing. We don't have all of it yet, Rob. We're not specific on budget charges for players. The league hasn't publicized those numbers exactly.
So there's still some mystery here.
There's still some mystery. But there's a lot less mystery now today, and it is fascinating. I do think there's also that, it could be good and bad in the sense that if your team has struggled and you need help in a number of positions, and you go look at the MLS GAM numbers, the published GAM numbers for Major League Soccer, and they say that your team has $2.8 million in GAM, you might be going, oh, it's going to be a rough year. We just don't have the GAM. We don't have the money. We don't have the juice to bring down contracts for better players to help us get significantly better. And on the other side of the coin is a team like Atlanta or a team like Miami, who just traded Leo Campana and got $2 million more of GAM via that deal to add to a $4-point-something million they already had. Like, they're loading up for something. And that anticipation is part of the intrigue that connects fans to the league.
I'm curious if the numbers. So Taylor Twellman tweeted out a whole list of every club's general allocation money funds. I'm curious how up to date this is, because there's been a lot of deals this week as far as with the expansion draft and trading away super draft picks and all that, because the Philadelphia Union they made waves, quote unquote, about trading away all of their college drafting rights for a whole bunch of GAM. And according to the list that Taylor Twellman put out, they've got $4.2 million in GAM. Does that mean? I mean, just like an NFL fan would talk about their cap space, I assume. Yeah, this is somewhat parallel.
Yeah.
So $4.2 million they have available doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna to spend that. But so it does give the fan a little bit of come on, guy, poke the stick, like do a thing, spend
Right.
the money.
Yes.
And on this list, Houston Dynamo only has $2 million, to where Atlanta United has the most with 6.5. Do you think that? In your mind, seeing these numbers, and New England has 5.5, St. Louis 5.3, do you think that this might excite a St. Louis City fan? Like, oh, we have 5.3 million to spend. Do you think that
Well,
will translate into
that's what
action?
I'm saying. Now, and again, so they released these numbers. You can find them on the MLS. You don't have to go to Taylor Twellman's Twitter page. You can find them on the MLS website. They're available to everybody there. But they publicized these numbers as of December 10th. Which is 10 days ago. You mentioned that all the deals that have happened since then, and last couple of days, we've had a bunch of deals. I think Gaston Brugman was traded by the Galaxy.
Final
Nashville
MVP.
For Sean Davis went the other way. So, things are happening. I mentioned Leo Campana. So you have to do the math. Like, you have to go, okay, New England had $5.5 million in GAM, and they just traded $2 million of that for Leo Campana. It could be it's 2.5 over the next 2 years. It's $2 million this year. So related to this particular number, you just have to subtract that. And now, they have 3.5 now instead of 5.5 because they used their GAM, right? They could use it to buy down contracts on players they already have or players they bring in from outside the league, or you can do what they did, trade it to Miami, who says, we like Leo Campana, but we've got other things we want to do. You can have Leo Campana, $2 million in GAM in 2025. And now we all have to kind of do the math and look at this and go, okay, what does that mean? What does it indicate? What can we read in the tea leaves of the GAM to figure out what's going to be happening here in the very near future? Now, it would be nice if this was like rolling and they were constantly updating these numbers for us. Like every day we got a GAM update.
That'd be cool, like a stock market thing.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that. This is a baby step. This is like, okay, here's some numbers. Now, run away really fast and don't worry too much about what people think about them, because again, there are still mysteries baked into the league and how much these players are hitting the budget, because we get the MLSPA numbers, but those are not specific numbers to the salary budget. Those are sort of generalized numbers the players taking home. It's sort of like, I know what my salary is, and I know what my take-home pay is, and those things are different, right? And it's not. This is not taxes, but it's kind of in the same idea that the accounting is not straightforward.
Another point that we were discussing at the top of the show about, it's the 30th season for Major League Soccer, and, the steps that have or haven't been made. But we talked about coaches earlier in the week as well, about how the hot seat is more of a reality. Just like the deal with Brugman leaving LA Galaxy, I feel like there's actually like like more of a ruthlessness, or like quick to make a move previous to in the past. Like coaches just seem they were there for the length of their contract regardless, and then players like, oh, he's good, and they would just hang around like seemingly forever. But now like there is actually some aggression and more what would you call it? Not
No,
negotiating.
lack of patience. Yeah, there's a declining level of patience for
And
clubs.
shifting and getting themselves into position to be more deliberate. It isn't just like, oh, we got this guy in a 3-year deal, so he's just going to be here for 3 years. So you see, this is just steps in the evolution, and then maybe this will put more pressure on the general managers. Like, hey, Seattle Sounders, what are you doing with your $4.2 million a GAM? Come on.
Yeah, again, that's now it's more information for fans to consider what their teams are doing, right? And it brings up the pressure on the teams, which only makes for a more interesting league. And we don't have to make apologies for MLS, but there were certainly times when the league wasn't spending a lot of money, when the league was trying to just get by, that it was not great that we knew numbers because they looked so bad. The league looked terrible. It's like, oh, Stuart Holden's making $14,000 a year?
Yeah.
That he could do better than that at Whataburger. Why is he doing that? It doesn't make any sense. Now we're not in that era anymore, and it behooves the league to show off a little bit. Now, again, these are not the same numbers in terms of transfer fees and all that stuff. And again, it's a completely different accounting system than what European fans are used to. But now that there are significant numbers of players making good amounts of money, this is necessary. This is good. This is sending a message that, like, it's just like when you show up at your high school reunion in the BMW or whatever. You're like, hey, look at me. Like, I'm big time now. I've got money. Major League Soccer is kind of saying to everybody via these numbers, we've got money. And there was a time when the league would prefer not to have done that, because it would allow for agents to have leverage going into contract negotiations. Oh, look at all these teams with cash slopping around. They should be paying it to my client. The league
don't give the labor any leverage, Jason.
No, exactly. But the league has clearly decided that whatever leverage the labor can get out of this is secondary or not nearly as important as the benefit of getting fans involved in thinking about these things in deeper levels. And again, the content machine gets going here, and that's good. That's good for the league.
If you got an opinion, follow or drop a comment in the chat. Do you think that you'll mix it up with your friends a little bit more? Talk about MLS team structuring at all? Follow or drop a comment and see if this gets you going a little bit and might enter your general conversations about MLS and soccer in general. Follow along at MKickaround on social media. You can interact with us there and give us a subscribe. Hit 450, I think, this morning or last night. So let's get another 50 before the end of the year. Did you know it was Christmas next week?
That really I did know that. Us. Yeah, it's
really
almost here.
Snuck up on us.
Give us a present. Subscribe to the channel.
Exactly. We're gonna catch our breath and come right back with a fun segment and go down the memory hole. Here on Friday, segment number 3, we're going to go down the memory hole in acknowledgement of the MLS Super Duper Draft tonight.
Is it called the Super Duper Draft, or did you editorialize and add a duper in there? Come on, that's a Robert Kerr duper. That's not part of the official title.
I'm embracing my Western, Midwestern generality or
Super duper.
caricature. It's a
I
real
see that.
super draft, guys.
Well,
But
it's nice that we're going to be doing some Chicago here. We're going to talk Chicago a little bit. All right, go ahead.
I worked
Set
at a
us up,
hockey
Rob.
team, and I'll never forget the call I got from a lady from Manitoba. I mean, that's
Oh,
like
no.
Canada, Midwest. You know, me and my husband are coming to the game. If you want to let us know what should we do to be prepared for the game, I sure would love it. We're coming in from Manitoba.
Let's give some dad joke love to our friend Mike Thomas. Super dupless draft. No Philadelphia Union draft picks. Pretty good, Mike. Pretty good. I appreciate that. Yes. Okay, Rob. So today is the super draft. It's
Today's
happening
the
by
super draft.
conference call. No, I think you can follow along on the league website, but you can't actually see anything happening. You won't get to watch any of the trades going down. Everything's happening through WhatsApp groups. Like I don't know how this works anymore. I've been to MLS Super Drafts. I've attended the ones in the past. We had DJs. We had live interviews after players came off the stage. We had Don Garber acting like he was Robert Goodell or Pete Rozelle or whoever. We had tables with coaches and GMs and assistants.
Name cards.
We had name cards. We had fans singing songs. In fact, I recall specifically, speaking of the Philadelphia Union, being in Philadelphia for an MLS Super Draft in which they picked their they picked who's their keeper right now? I blanked on it as I was telling a story. Who's the goalkeeper?
For which team?
For Philadelphia, the Jamaican goalkeeper. Help
Blake.
me out. Andre Blake. Andre Blake was drafted, and who was the goalkeeper at the time? He ended up playing at RSL. He's still in the league. Who am I thinking of? Oh, Mike Thomas is going to have to help me out with this story because I've just blanked on the goalkeepers.
Not Nick Raimondo.
No, this is okay, it doesn't matter.
Who did Andre Blake
Zach
get drafted
McMath.
in favor? Zach McMath.
Zach McMath,
Wow,
who
good
was the
pull,
number one in
Mike.
Philadelphia.
Good pull.
Zach McMath, number one in Philadelphia. They drafted Andre Blake, and I saw Zach McMath stomping around outside of the venue, yelling at his agent on the phone because his team had just drafted his replacement. That's the kind of thing we used to have in the Super Draft. We don't have it anymore.
Get me out of Philadelphia, Bob. They just drafted Andre Blake. So for tonight's MLS Super Draft, MLS.com had singled out 5 players that they think are the top prospects. Tate Johnson from North Carolina, Max Floriani from St. Louis University, Alex Harris, Cornell, Manu Dua from Santa Barbara, and Dean Boltz, one of my favorite soccer names. I don't know the player, but just for the sake of his awesome name, Dean Boltz, I'm hoping you have a long and storied career. But we're here in the Memory Hole segment to go, do you remember when Nelson Rodriguez shook the soccer world, Jason?
I don't, but I'm glad we're going to review this. So this is back when the Super Draft was this in-person thing with the event and the GMs and everything. So Nelson Rodriguez was the GM of the Chicago Fire. Is that correct, Rob?
Yes,
is that
sir.
Right? Okay. So we've got this video. Let's start it up, see where we are. What year was this, Rob? Before we dive in.
2016. So this is when I was a Chicago Fire beat writer, and this was like the era where I was like following it and, followed
All right.
along. So I watched this happen firsthand. But this video that came out on the Fire YouTube channel back in 2016, shortly after the draft, and deals were made.
8 years ago. Let's go. Let's see what we got here.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not a conference call. They had a whole event and a whole surrounding media around this.
Yeah, it looks like I got an issue with the audio. I'm not sure why I don't have the audio. It's not working, which is sad. Okay, well,
So we've set the scene, establishing shot. We're in Baltimore in 2016, and that's Nelson Rodriguez.
I was probably there. Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't know why the audio's not working, because if we can't hear this, I'm not sure that it's worth it, which is bad for live YouTube shows. But
It sure is.
yeah, that's really terrible. I don't know why it's not giving me the audio.
Did you hit control, reboot, like unplug it and replug it back in again?
I thought I had downloaded the correct version of this with audio, but yeah, it's not working. So let's okay. You pad. I'll see if I can find a different way to do this video, and yeah, we'll get there eventually. I can promise we'll get there eventually. So yeah,
So
give
does
us a little bit
anyone
more of the scene.
remember? Does anyone remember a MLS draftee called Jack Harrison? You know, he might have gone on to be successful at NYC FC and at Leeds, and he's now an Everton player.
Now
Well,
a pretty important Everton player, if I'm not mistaken,
the
right? Like a pretty important.
aforementioned general manager of Chicago Fire,
Yeah.
who famously, he's done a couple other things that didn't go successfully, but this instance, he drafted the very highly rated Jack Harrison for a defender who eventually ended up retiring about 2-3 years later to become a doctor. But in this video, very hushed words and a lot of whispers and this and that, and he doesn't cover himself in glory as being the I don't know. At the
Okay.
time, he thought he was
Let's
doing
see.
something big, and there's just
Let's see
a
if this
really funny
works.
quote here that has always
Hold
hung
on.
with me from
Let's see what
Nelson
this
Rodriguez.
works. Can you hear that? Is that we good now? Do you have the audio?
I do not have the audio.
do not have the audio.
Do you want to? That's kind of a bummer, but it is a beautiful established shot. And Baltimore's looking nice.
All right.
There. I'd at least go to the freeze frame of when you might get the subtitles of the quote that really is the moneymaker of this video. But Nelson Rodriguez was thinking that he was really doing something big with what was it, Brandon Vincent? That was the player's name I was trying to think of. He bypassed future English Premier League feature player in lieu of a fullback who ended up, I don't think he even saw out his rookie contract, or maybe after his rookie contract, after 3 seasons in Chicago, stepped away from the game. So the famous quote from this video was, "We're going to shake the effing soccer world with the trade at the MLS Super Draft."
Yeah.
Did not indeed. I mean, it shook the world in maybe in a different way than he was intending.
Well, I mean, I think it's funny because I don't know. Obviously, they got it wrong, right? Obviously, they got it wrong.
It's just funny with how intense and serious this video is about, like, they're making backroom secret deals and they're whispering in each other's ear and texting under the table while the other picks are being announced, or the prelude, the pre-draft show was going on, and it really seems like a very serious, important thing, and now it's a conference call.
Now it's a conference call, and it speaks to the development of MLS academies, that teams are no longer. I mean, this is why Philadelphia traded all their picks away, because for them, it's not necessary to go grab players they don't know a lot about from college, where they're questioning the development of those players, and then those players entering the draft are 20, 21, 22 years old. Right? Why not give those minutes that you might give to those players to players coming out of your academy, the players that you know, players that you've invested in? And maybe it's not necessarily for most teams, that kind of equation. Like maybe for some teams, they feel like they can do both, or there's still value in the draft. Go grab a player, see. I mean, and now we have MLS Next Pro teams, obviously, where they can put some of these guys. It's going to be a further process to see how many players choose to stick with an MLS team, sign a deal, knowing that they may not play first team minutes for a while, go into MLS Next Pro, go ahead and try to play there, which is a lower level in front of fewer people, but it's still connected to an MLS team. You're still working your way up, versus go to USL Championship or USL League One and take your shot there. Now, I think we've seen that, generally speaking, USL Championship players are siloed off from MLS. MLS has not done a lot of work to go and find good players out of that division. And I don't know if that's because of the competition between USL and MLS. I don't know if it's the MLS league coaches and GMs just don't rate players in the championship. But if you choose to go that path, are you now taking yourself out of the possibility of playing in Major League Soccer? Or is it going to be a lot harder for you to get there if you want to play in MLS? Or and again, some of these players, they go to college not because they're not good enough to be in academies or not good enough to play pro at 18 or 19. They just choose this path. They want to go to college. They want the experience. They want the education, whatever's available to them. And some of those players are then going to say, well, actually, my goal is to get overseas. So what's the best path for me to do that? Is it to go sign for MLS, or should I go to a championship team? Is that a better move for me? There's that.
Looking at the stats for Dean Bolts, he had 10 goals in 15 games in the spring of 2024. So hopefully that translates into some glory for the fastest man in Wisconsin.
Is he the fastest man? Wow.
It's like Usain Bolt, at least in my mind. I'm hoping that he's got like a Brazilian naming. Like he was born like Smith or something like that, and he was just so electric that he got turned into a Bolt.
Oh, okay. So, okay. Well, I mean, it's a great name. That's a great name. We like good names. We want good player names.
Yeah, I mean, someone's name like
soccer
helps you in your. That's a little known underrated factor of becoming a successful soccer player is, or any athlete really, is having a sick name.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
would Usain Bolt? I mean, no one would have paid attention to him if he was, Johnny Johnson or something, would he?
I mean, the man is like 6'3" and incredibly fast. So yeah, probably. His name was. Yeah.
You might be right. Who is your
Yeah.
favorite MLS name? I always thought that Tommy Thompson was kind of a funny name.
Tommy Thompson. That's your favorite name in Major
Not
League
favorite,
Soccer?
but it's one that comes to alliteration are always fun.
Yeah, I guess. Man, now you're putting me on the spot. What's my
I'm
favorite
sorry about
MLS
that.
name? I mean, Digital Takawira. How can you beat Digital Takawira? It's
PC.
impossible to beat. Yeah,
PC was a fun name.
PC. Oh, he played in the lower divisions too, right?
Yeah, he was on Orlando City, and he's also I think a USL journeyman.
Yeah.
And you know a whole can of worms that we didn't dig into that we could maybe move to Monday, but NISA not getting sanctioned 2025.
Yeah, we can do
Is
that
there
in
going to be a NISA player expansion draft?
No. No. Yeah. The NISA blowing up is bad for some players. It's probably not the end of the world for some others who weren't getting paid anyway. That's why partly the reason NISA had problems, because they weren't paying a lot of the teams weren't paying their players. NISA was a nice idea that ran up against the reality, which is they thought, hey, let's make being a professional soccer club a lot easier thing to accomplish. Let's lower the barrier dramatically. Let's keep costs low from a central organization standpoint and allow teams to grow. But then you're not vetting, or you're kind of building into your system a lack of vetting of clubs and their financial positions, and then you run into clubs that can't pay their players or have significant issues with facilities and lose their leases or whatever. And that's again,
Messy.
we talked about this. I think on the last show, the issue of how how anti-competitive, how the lack of an ability to sort of be anti-competitive, right? The fact that we have antitrust laws in this country makes it difficult for any one organization, any one group to sort of get us all moving in the same direction. Because as soon as you say, I think we should go this way, somebody else is like, no, you can't tell me what to do. I'm suing you. And then we all just have to start over again. Or we have multiple organizations all fighting for the same scrap, which is always damaging ultimately to the forward progress. I think I got this working. Let me see. Oh, no, it works.
Oh,
Yeah.
we got it right at the end of the show here.
Should have double checked. But there we are. That's the scene in Baltimore. I love the music. They definitely put this out wrong, thinking this is a thing. This looks great.
Shaking
We're
the
making
soccer
it.
How are you?
world.
Good. Ready to go? Yeah.
Just to
I have
give you a
quick
taste of
question.
what
Yeah,
Nelson
I'm
was
trying
doing back
to
there.
do some quick prep for the broadcast on Jack. So we haven't said anything, but I want to at the latest moment. I'm going to say here's a couple of things about him that you
Jack
should
Harrison,
know.
there he is.
The combination of humility yet intense competitiveness.
Okay.
He wants a soccer lifestyle. We may trade
Now, this is Nelson Rodriguez being asked to describe Jack Harrison when he ends up trading away Jack Harrison. Like, I mean, eventually. Here.
And that number 4.
so get ready for that one, big boy.
And welcome to the main ballroom in the Baltimore Convention Center in Baltimore, Maryland, site of the 2016 MLS.
Anyway, that's what it looked like back then. We don't have time to dive into all of this. Maybe we can do another memory hole one day when I figure out how to get the video with the audio the first time around instead of this messiness, Rob.
But this is a conference call.
There, this is now this should be an email chain. Let's be honest, it should be an email chain. Gonna be an email. Could have been a could have Slack. Could have been a Slack.
Nelson Rodriguez providing a quote for a player he's not going to keep.
Not going to keep. And he didn't know Brandon Vincent was going to retire to go be a doctor or whatever. But I do think that I still think they miscalculated. Brandon Vincent was a very good player, but not Jack Harrison. Right? And again, maybe Jack Harrison doesn't end up in the Premier League if he's not in the NYCFC system to be identified by City Football Group as a player they're going to bring over. Because remember, it was City that bought him initially. You know, even though that's self-dealing and we all kind of just turn our heads and go, whatever. That's how that went for Jack Harrison. All right.
Are we going to go back to it? We're going to save that for later.
We will save it for later. We don't have time today. It's too late.
All right. Friday has been kicked. We shook the soccer world, perhaps, here on Friday morning, but you can do so by clicking subscribe on Morning Kick Around on YouTube. And that is 2 words. Want to note that Morning Kick Around, 2 words. Some folks have been finding Chuck Norris videos on YouTube.
But kick around is 1 word.
It is.
Morning is 1 word. Kick around is 1 word. Those are
Correct.
2 words. Together, morning kick around, 2 words. Don't put a space between kick and around. Don't do that.
You'll get the Chuck Norris experience if you do that. So click subscribe on Morning Kick Around. Follow along at mkickaround on the social medias. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you to Harry and Mike and Nate and Urias and all the other everyday viewers. Love you, and thank you so much for supporting the program and being in the foundational period of the MK Ultras.
Yeah, happy holidays. I think we have plans for a Monday show. So look forward to that next week. We will be here on the 23rd to talk about whatever goes down over the weekend, and let's hope that involves Gio Reyna playing and Tyler Adams playing and Ricardo Pepi scoring a bunch of goals. There we go.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Merry Christmas. See you Monday.